Hey friends, I am back on YouTube and as a first-time mom, I can't believe I'm back. It's been about like 10 months since I posted my last video, but I have so much to share with you guys. I have a 7-month-old. This video might be very short, but I want to take this time to share with you guys my crazy birth experience because it was crazy. But at the same time, I don't want to discourage any new moms or expecting moms out there with the whole C-section process. I did have an unplanned C-section and it was not in my plan. I didn't want a C-section. I wanted a natural, healthy vaginal delivery, but my baby was breached during 3rd trimester and oh man, the 3rd trimester was so crazy. I still have to make a video about my 3rd trimester because I had so many symptoms and I felt like pretty much dying every single day. I don't want to exaggerate that I felt like dying, but I literally felt like I was dying. So during my 3rd trimester, my OBGYN, she said that she wanted to do an ultrasound to see if the baby is breech because she did a quick ultrasound through her iPad and she found out the baby was breech towards the end of 2nd trimester, I believe. But in 3rd trimester, around like the 31 week mark, she did a full-on legitimate ultrasound and she found out the baby was breech. The baby's head was literally under my ribs. I started freaking out a little bit because I was like, wait, breech baby means that I might actually get a C-section. I researched all these methods like acupuncture, chiropractor, all these things that people can do to turn their baby's head to the pelvic bone area naturally. And I was actually really scared to venture those methods because although I did want to do that, I had so much anxiety from my previous miscarriage. I made a video on that in my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. But I did have a miscarriage and I had so much anxiety during my 3rd trimester. And on top of that, I was going through so much pain, like with all the symptoms. So I decided to do the ECV. I talked with my OBGYN about what ECV is, and she told me that ECV is basically 2 doctors, 2 OBs will be on top of you, like on top of your abdomen area, and they will try to manually push the baby's head to the pelvic area. And I was thinking, like, imagine my head, I was like, how are they possibly going to do that? The baby could get hurt, right? So I was mentally preparing myself for an ECV and I prayed about it and I felt like, okay, let's just give this a chance. So I went into the hospital for my ECV and the ECV was done around like 36 weeks. And so it was getting close to my labor day. So I was like, okay, maybe the baby might come out today during the ECV, because if the baby's heart rate drops or if the umbilical cord is tied around her neck, like they could do a emergency C-section there. So I packed my hospital bag and my husband came with me and we went to the hospital. And obviously I was so anxious. I was given the laughing gas. You can use like nitrous oxide to help you like breathe. I prepared headphones. So I was listening to BTS and K-pop, and something that hyped me up made me emotionally lifted during the procedure. So I was listening to that. I was doing a laughing gas and they started the procedure and oh my gosh, like I was crying throughout the whole thing. Basically what it is like, I'm trying to explain it in layman's terms. This is not a medical advice or I'm not a professional at all, but I'm just describing you what they were doing. But my husband was able to see the entire process from his point of view, but I was just lying there so I couldn't really see what they were doing. But it was so painful and basically my belly was like this, right? And they're pushing down manually all the way down like to your bones. Basically, like they were pushing you all the way down. And my husband was telling me he could see the baby's head and the baby's body. So like all that fluid in between the baby and my belly, like they were pushing it all the way down until they could see the baby's body. And they were pushing the head left to right. They tried multiple things. They were trying to push the baby's head that way, clockwise, counterclockwise. And while the other doctor was pushing the baby's butt like off the pelvic bone. So my baby's butt was stuck in the pelvic bone, and they tried it 3 times. And I was crying throughout the whole thing because it was immensely painful. I did not want to take an epidural during that time because I just wanted everything natural. I was just praying that the ECV worked, but it didn't work. So after that, I just planned for excuse me, I need a little break. Sharing my story and rewinding all these memories is giving me anxiety. I read a lot of stories of moms who did the ECV and they were successful, and my doctor told me, yeah, she told me it was 50-50. So she told me there is really no high success rate. I mean, she's seen both. I was really praying that I would be one of the success stories, but it wasn't. And a lot of moms I've seen on TikTok and YouTube about doing the ECV, they said it's like not painful, it's like super, you just kind of endure it. And I asked my doctor if it hurts, but she said it's not comfortable, is what she said. Was hoping that it's just not comfortable, but it was so painful. I think maybe because I have a smaller body, I'm not sure, or my pain tolerance is not that great, but I just could not go through the entire ECV, and I will never be doing the ECV again. Yeah, and I was so worried throughout the whole process of my baby's heart rate, because that's what they're monitoring afterwards. If she's in distress, her heart rate would be tanking down. But I stayed there for a couple hours after, and they were monitoring just the baby's movement and the baby's heart rate, things like that. So we planned for December 10th, which was the 40-week mark, having a C-section. And unfortunately, my OBGYN wanted to schedule a C-section at 39 weeks because, she thought if it turns into an unplanned or emergency C-section, it's better to have a planned C-section where we know where she can be there physically and be the one to operate on me. And so I really wanted a planned C-section at 39 weeks as well. But then unfortunately it's December, it's the holidays, and apparently a lot of moms were giving birth during that week. Everything was booked. So December 10th was the day that I was going to give birth, and it was a planned C-section. But 4 days earlier, 4 days earlier, I was in bed and it was 9 p.m. and all of a sudden I just had so much anxiety, and my body, I felt like I kind of knew that it was coming, or I don't know, maybe it was just me imagining the day, but I just felt like my body was about to go into contractions that day. And so at 9 p.m. I started having really strong contractions, and the doctor described contractions as like really strong period cramps, and she told me that I would know if they were contractions because it's very obvious. You can only imagine what it feels like, but you don't actually know what it feels like. So when it happened, at first I was like, wait, am I having contractions? Because this kind of hurts, Is it like lightning crotch, or is it just like pain from the baby moving or pushing one of my organs in there? It happened every 15 minutes and it happened for an hour. So I was like, wait, this can't be just any kind of, temporary random pain. It has to be contractions, because they were saying if you have 5 contractions that last for 1 minute long for 1 hour, that means you should go into the hospital, like you're in active labor. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm having contractions 4 days earlier. We had our hospital bag packed and everything. And so we drove to the hospital. 1 minute contractions, 5 minutes apart for 1 hour. So mine were happening 15 minutes apart, and I was not waiting 5 minutes apart, because by the time I got into hospital, it became like 10 minutes apart and then 5 minutes apart real fast. And I got to the hospital and there was like no one there. We got to the hospital around like 11 p.m. or midnight, and there was a police officer there who was guarding the door, and he didn't know what to do when I went inside. And my husband was like, she's in labor right now and we need to get the doctor like right away. So we were waiting in the lobby for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I was having active contractions and they were hurting like crazy. They were hurting like It was like period cramps, but like 10 times worse. I think the important thing that I remember to do was breathing. So make sure that I was breathing and calming myself down because I didn't want to be all freaking out and I didn't want to distress the baby. We're rolled into a hospital room and there were a bunch of beds there with curtains divided in between. And I was the only one, which I really liked because I like quiet and peace. They hooked me up to all these equipment. The doctor on call during that night, she came in and she said, yeah, you're in active labor, the baby wants to come out. I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening, it's happening. So basically my husband and I just looked at each other and we're like, wait, we were not expecting like today to be that day. And so we started texting our family and our friends and we're like, dude, we're having a baby today. It's gonna happen tonight and we don't know if I'm gonna survive. For me, I don't know, right? Because I was freaking out. I was like, I've never gone through this experience. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, am I gonna die today? Like, I could meet Jesus today, who knows? I was like so anxious, but I was really excited at the same time. They put me in like a gown where they could open the back. I went into the operating room. I wasn't dizzy, but I was just so out of it because I was tired, I was exhausted, I was anxious. I was like praying to God. I was like, God, like, am I gonna meet you today? Please just protect my baby because I just want her to be safe and happy and healthy. My husband wasn't able to come into the operation room with me while I was getting the medications. They wanted him to kind of like wait outside while they prepped the operation room. So I didn't expect this, but there were a lot of doctors and nurses in there. Like, I was told, oh yeah, you're gonna have like one anesthesiologist, like couple nurses and techs, but it felt like maybe 10 people in there or maybe more because I couldn't see. I was lying on a table, but it just felt like a lot of people chattering and talking and singing. It really did feel like I was a piece of meat. Like, I was just there like bare naked and it felt very vulnerable, and I just felt like, but I was just starting to tear up like thinking about just that vulnerability. Giving birth, whether it's vaginal or C-section, is truly a beautiful thing. And so I was just lying there. Anesthesiologist gave me like a shot, like an injection in the back of my spine, like towards the end tailbone area. And it was not painful at all. It was kind of like a sting, but I was just so scared. I was like, I had to bend over, like hunched, and he kept talking to me. He was like, hey, can you, like, are you awake? Like, did you feel that? You're all done. Like, that was easy, right? And I was like, yeah. He kept talking to me, make sure I'm awake and I am alive. All the doctors and nurses are so sweet. I absolutely am so amazed and thankful. Every person and every experience is so meaningful, and I think nurses and doctors truly like make it or break it. And so the OB on call, she was so sweet. She was talking me through like, I'm gonna be doing this, I'm gonna be doing this, like, are you ready? And then the curtain was up in front of me, so I couldn't really see what they're doing, but I did see blood. I did feel like pressure with some of my organs and I felt really dizzy. My husband came in and he was holding my hand, but I started like shaking. Like within maybe half an hour, I was shaking like this. I was literally going like this. I just kept praying and talking to God. I was like, God, like, I'm sorry for everything that I've done in my life. I don't know if this is the last day on earth. I don't know if you're gonna take me, but Lord, please just protect my baby and my husband. And the room is so bright, I couldn't look up because the lights were shining bright on me. And I was just closing my eyes, and the anesthesiologist is like, hey, are you awake? Like, are you okay? I was like, yes, I'm awake. And my husband is like not good with these things, so I thought maybe he might faint. So I warned the doctors and I was like, okay, if he faints, please like take care of him, because my dad fainted when my mom gave birth. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is a thing, like dads can faint. But anyways, the doctors and nurses, they were so happy. They're just talking about their Fridays. They were like, oh yeah, so what's your plan for the weekend? Are you going to hang out with your family? You know, how's this and this doing? Like, and I was like shocked. I was like, oh, like this is what they do in the operating room. So they cut me open and I was just lying there and I didn't feel a thing, but I felt some things. It was not painful at all, but I just felt pressure and I knew they were in there, like in my body and my gut, which was not very pleasant. A lot of people actually were telling me, oh, you're getting a C-section? That is the easy way out. Like, you don't have to experience all the pain and vaginal tears and the contractions and pushing down there, you know? But I was like, in my head, I was like, C-sections are not easier. They're terrifying. Like, I don't know. To me, C-section was terrifying, but I don't want to complain because I'm very thankful, you know, baby's healthy and I'm doing okay. And there were, you know, way worse stories. And so in the end, I'm very, very thankful. I think emotionally, especially, it was really painful for me because I always wanted a vaginal delivery. I was like glorifying it in my mind. I was like, I want a natural, healthy vaginal delivery. It really tore me because I felt like a failure. I felt like my body couldn't do what the body was designed to do, and I was incapable of doing that, and I was not able to provide that for my girl. That was like the most disappointing, I think, feeling. But after they cut me open, I heard the baby cry. And oh my gosh, that was an experience. Again, I didn't know what that would feel like, but I was sobbing, of course. Firstborn, they're like screaming and crying, but it was just so beautiful. Like, I was so thankful that she was out, like healthy, and I got to see her like at a glimpse from my side view when the nurse took her like to show me like, hey, this is your baby. And I was crying. I was like, oh my gosh. And obviously the baby's like covered in all this like white stuff and she's like red and she doesn't look quite human yet. But to me, it was like the most beautiful thing. My husband was carried away because he went to cut the umbilical cord and they put the baby immediately under like this light thing. I don't know. Yeah, and my husband, I think he was just so happy. Like, he didn't cry. He's not the crying type. I was really happy. I was really sad that I couldn't hold her immediately as soon as she came out, but it's okay. Like, I was carried into a suite room and then they gave me the baby, and then that's when I had the contact to contact. We brought like a receiving blanket to the hospital and they used that and they put like a little cap on her, and it was just like, it was insane. Giving birth is one of the most powerful things a woman does in their lifetime, in our lifetime. For the next baby, I want to have a vaginal delivery still. The recovery process after the C-section wasn't too bad for me, but I didn't really know what to expect. I had a full-time nanny for about a month living with us, so that helped a lot with my recovery. I started walking maybe about 2 to 3 weeks after, and I think the hardest thing for me right after giving birth was breastfeeding because she wouldn't latch on, and I had to have like lactation consultants help me out, but she still didn't latch on. I had a bunch of mastitis, clogged ducts, and it was not pretty. I went through a period of postpartum blues. I don't know if it was depression, but I did feel a lot of mood swings, and it was just a lot of sadness, guilt, shame, comparison. I think I was comparing myself a lot to other women, especially because I had a C-section and other people had vaginal deliveries, like beating myself up for not being able to have a vaginal delivery. I'm in a better place now and I've had therapy and everything. Someone actually told me afterwards, she was like, oh, you know, C-section babies, they tend to be like not close to their moms. And so that really devastated me. I was like, oh my gosh. It really messed up my mental health. It really did something. I think my best advice would be don't listen to those voices and you do you, you know, like you do your own thing. Don't look at what other people are doing if you're having a C-section, if you're having a vaginal delivery, whatever kind of delivery it is, you're awesome. Like what you're doing, giving birth in general, is amazing, and you're going through a lot. Anyways, that is my whole story of my unplanned C-section, and I have other stories and videos that I want to share with you guys. This experience is really meant to empower you guys and empathize with anyone who is going through something similar. It's not to scare you. I really hope that, you know, the C-section stories could be more told, because they're not. And especially coming from an Asian American, like it's hard to find resources and people vocalizing their stories. That is why I started this channel to begin with. If you guys like my content, please like and subscribe. That will help me feed my baby. And if you have questions, as always, just message me or comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.